Welcome along to this week's Boylesports Bet Zone. I'm Nigel Seeley. Things may be settled at the top of the Premier League, but at the bottom, there's a lot to play for. Looking ahead to this weekend's 5 live games, I'm delighted to say joining me is former Crystal Palace and Millwall defender Matt Lawrence. Matt, how are you?
Very well. How are you, Nigel?
Do you know what? I've had the Premier League now. It's all over the top. You know, some of these games that Sky and BT have picked aren't really inspiring me. I just want it all to get to that final weekend of the season where the fans have the tops off, goals go in, but I'm not.
And we can send Newcastle down. Is that what we're looking for?
Well, fans have their tops off at Newcastle in December, January. All it doesn't matter when it is, but well, they're in there in awful form. Just before we go on to this, who do you think will go down this season?
I think Burnley, QPR, and I think possibly Newcastle. I'm not sure. Burnley and QPR is pretty much nailed on that they're going to go down. And yeah, Newcastle are in such disarray, you know, throughout the boardroom, throughout the terraces, throughout the pitch. You know, I don't think many of the team are particularly behind John Carver. Colaccini wrote the letter to the fans, didn't he? Didn't once mention John Carver. I think Newcastle are in big trouble. Yeah,
Newcastle are in big trouble, and they will be if one of their local rivals, Sunderland, win on the first game this weekend in the Premier League. 12:45 on BT Sports. Sunderland travel to Merseyside, the blue half of Merseyside, to take on Everton. And Everton here are 4-5 to win this game. You can get 17-4 for Sunderland and 13-5 for the draw. Roberto Martinez's side have just lost one of their last 14 Premier League matches at Goodison Park. They won their last 4-0, and Sunderland come here with a terrible record. They failed to score in 7 of the last 14 Premier League games. Now, Matt, this game was 3 weeks ago. You'd be looking at Everton, say they're about 1-2, but there's this thing now that punters think, oh, because they need the points, they're going to win it.
Yeah.
Should we make note of this?
Everybody likes thinking that the added motivation may, you know, draw Sunderland through, bring them through, they're going to win the game. I'm with you. I think Everton, I think the most Sunderland can expect is a draw. I fancy Everton. Everton have won 3 of their last 5 games in the Premier League. I know they lost their last one, but I fancy Everton. I just think they're very good at Goodison, as you've mentioned. And I think Martinez wants to finish the season on a high. He's had a terrible season by his standards and by Everton's standards. I think he'll want to keep the run going. As I say, 1-3 out of 5. I really do fancy them here at Goodison. I think it's going to be a long afternoon for Sunderland.
A long afternoon for Sunderland, which is music to John Carver and Newcastle's ears. Sunderland have won just 2 of their last 20 Premier League games against Everton, but they did win their last trip to Goodison Park last season. The other thing that Sunderland are doing, they're looking to do back-to-back Premier League wins for the first time this season. Quite staggering, and that's why they're at the bottom of the table. They've won none of their last 8 Premier League games away from home. And you know what? When you look at it, they're not scoring goals. The top goal scorer of them is Conor Wickham with 5 goals. And Everton to win to 0 here is 9-5. I quite like that as well.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing we do know with Sunderland is they don't defend very well. You know, the likes of O'Shea and Wes Brown, whoever's playing at the back, O'Shea's been calamitous this season, to be honest. And yeah, at the other end of the pitch, to have your top goal scorer on 5 goals, your centre forward you've paid something like 8 million for, and he's only got 5 goals in the Premier League. Whereas you look at somebody like QPR, we've got Charlie Austin who's banged in 17 goals, something like that. That's Sunderland's big problem, as I say. It's almost both ends of the pitch, and that's why it's been such a long, hard season for them, and why obviously Poyet got sacked and Dick Advocaat's come in, and he hasn't done a great deal better, to be honest.
It's going to be a tricky day for Dickie, and I think Everton at 4-5. They're part 1 of my 5-timer this week. I'm going for it. I'm going for the smash out and a massive 28-1, which we'll come on to a bit later. My 5-timer this weekend, which is available now on the Boylesports bet on the website. Just one thing before we go, double bubble. Remember, Boylesports will double the odds if your first goal scorer scores inside the first 20 minutes this weekend in all Premier League games. If you're looking for a double bubble goal scorer, where would your goal scorer be?
Goal scorer, I don't know. I don't know whether Leon Osmond's fit at the moment. I always fancy Leon Osmond for Everton, I really do.
Leon Osmond and his brothers, you know, there's Danny and little Jimmy as well. Big price, Leon Osmond is around about 20-1, but Lukaku is the favourite in that market at 130, and hopefully we'll get an early goal. OK, move on to 5:30. One of your former teams, Crystal Palace. They're at home at Selhurst Park, a fortress, great atmosphere at Selhurst Park against Manchester United, and regardless of really nothing to play for either of these sides, the atmosphere is going to be electric. But Man United have a good record here. They failed to score in 8 of their last meetings with Crystal Palace have failed to score in 8 of their last meetings in all competitions against Manchester United, and goals could be on the menu, you think?
I think so. I think from Manchester United's point of view, I know that the atmosphere at Crystal Palace is fantastic. Been there a number of times watching this season, and yes, it is electric, but Palace's home form's been pretty dire of late. Man United, I know they've lost their last 3 games. I don't think they've scored in something like 4 hours and 47 minutes. But I really think Palace haven't got anything to play for whatsoever. Man United are going to keep wanting to put the pressure on Liverpool, want to get that last Champions League place. And I think things may just come right for them against Palace at Selhurst Park. I quite fancy a 2-0 or a 3-1 win for Manchester United. I really do.
So a Man United win for Man United, like you say, haven't scored in their last 2 games. The last time they failed to score 3 games in a row in the Premier League was back in April 2015. Man United kept clean sheets against Crystal Palace in each of their last 4 visits, so they go a win to nil maybe is on the menu. But I think under 2.5 goals is where I'll play here. I think it's going to be tight, but I do fancy Man United. Now, if you're looking for double bubble, Wayne Rooney's been getting all the goals for them. He's probably an obvious choice, takes penalties, free kicks. I don't think Van Persie will take a penalty again.
I think it's already been said that there's no way Van Persie's getting anywhere near the ball from penalties yet. Rooney, he's playing pretty well at the moment. I quite fancy him. Depends. There's a lot of talk about Falcao in the papers this morning as well. So who knows whether he's going to get a start. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets a start. But yeah, if you're going to go for first goal scorer, definitely Wayne Rooney.
If Falcao does start, the 18-5 at Crystal Palace will look very tempting. But I think Man United will win this to 0, and I think under 2.5 goals. And remember, if Falcao does start, he could be one for the double bubble, where Boylesports will double the odds if any goal scorer today this weekend scores inside the first 20 minutes. OK, one place where we expect a few goals is the Etihad. Manchester City's shortest price in the Premier League this weekend on the coupon. They're 2-9 at home to QPR on the early Sunday kickoff. QPR desperate for the win. They're 14-1. They don't win many games at all. They don't get beat by many heavy scorelines either. Man City have just lost just once of their last 15 Premier League home games. They're going to win here, aren't they?
Absolute home banker without a shadow of a doubt. I've actually written down here as well, looking at this fixture earlier on today, I anticipate goals, but just from Manchester City's point of view, I fancy a 2 or 3-0 win to Man City. QPR struggle to keep clean sheets, they really do. And at the Etihad, Man City are so strong. They're going to be wanting to try and cement that second place in the Premier League. And I think here, without a shadow of a doubt, 3 points home win.
Home point, 3 points. Man City, they're unbeaten in the last 6 matches against QPR in all competitions. They won 4, but the last 2 games have been draws. Sergio Aguero has scored 3 goals in his 4 Premier League starts. Famously, the Aguero goal. Aguero's got to be one for the double bubble.
Yes, 100%. He's going to want to get that golden boot at the end of the season. He's right there. I think he's 2 goals ahead of Harry Kane at the moment. And against QPR, he's got to fancy himself for 1 or for the brace, without a shadow of a doubt.
Aguero's 5-2 to score the first goal, and if he does score that opening goal inside the first 20 minutes, it's very likely with Sergio Aguero. Ballsports will double that odds, and it'll be a nice tasty 5-1 for you. So I think the Argentinian could be the bet. One bet I quite like here is QPR plus 2 goals in the match at 13-10. In their last 8 defeats, QPR have lost 7 by a 1-goal margin. They don't really get beat by many. They went down 2-1 against Liverpool. They'll go there quite defensive, and I think they'll be a tough nut to break down. Man City obviously conceded 2 against Aston Villa, fellow strugglers. Would you be backing me on that?
I'm not so sure, because I quite fancy, as I say, a 2-0 win there to Man City, if not 3. I just think Man City are going to be too strong. I know QPR are going to go there and defend, but a draw's not good enough for QPR. It's going to get to a certain stage when they're going to need to push bodies forward. They're going to need to score goals themselves. They've only got 3 games left in the season. They need to pick points up. Already 7 points adrift. They've got to be winning here. So I think they're going to have to go a little gung-ho, certainly in the second half, if not the first.
Gung-ho for QPR means disaster in my book. But Man City are 2-9. They're widely favourites for us. They will win. But I think they won't be by as clear-cut margin as Matt says. And I'm putting QPR plus 2 in my 5-timer this week. OK, moving on to 4 o'clock Sunday, Super Sunday. Chelsea, the champions, they're 11-10 at home to Liverpool side, who are 29-10. The draw is 5-2. Jose Mourinho's won 8 of his last 10 Premier League matches against Liverpool. But is this a good time to play Chelsea?
No, definitely not. At home, trophy's going to be there. I think Liverpool are going to have to do the guard of honour as Chelsea walk out onto the pitch, which of course somebody like Steven Gerrard is not going to enjoy. I think without, Chelsea, yes, they probably celebrated a little bit, but at home, at Stamford Bridge, they're going to want to win, and I think they will win this game. I really do. There's a lot of talk out the Liverpool camp. Brendan Rodgers, Lallana this morning as well, saying they can catch Manchester United. I don't see it in a million years. And against Chelsea, I think they're going to come unstuck. Liverpool are not scoring enough goals this season. Chelsea, are absolutely fantastic going forward, and I think they're going to be too strong going forward for the Liverpool defence as well.
I think the betting on this game is going to have a big influence of what happens at Crystal Palace. If Crystal Palace win this game, then game on for Liverpool. If Man United win, I think it's all over for Liverpool, and the price on Chelsea will shorten up. One thing I don't really expect is many goals. Chelsea have only conceded 1 goal in the last 4 Premier League games. Under 2.5 goals has been a winner in 4 of the last 6 Chelsea games, and 3 times played this season already, all very tight games, and under 2.5 goals has been a winner in 3 of the last 4.
Yeah, I think I'd like to agree with you on that, Nigel, especially when you've got John Terry and Cahill playing centre halves for Chelsea. I envisage they'll play. They are not going to want to, I know they've already won the league, but they are not going to want to let goals in. They're not going to want to concede. They've got such a strong winning mentality, strong defensive unit as well, whether it's Courtois or whether it's Cech in goal. I agree with you. I don't think Chelsea will concede many, and they don't need to go forward. If they're winning 1-0, they won't need to go forward anymore. They'll just put up the solid 2 banks of 4, and away they go. So I'm with you on that, under 2.5 goals.
Under 2.5 to me looks the banker of the weekend in this game, banker in this game. If you are going to play a match, keep one eye on what goes on at Selhurst Park, because I think the odds will change on that one. Okay, if you are going to play a double bubble, I quite like John Terry at a big price. I think John Terry might go up there and score a goal, and you get a massive price on that, and it's doubled if he scores inside the first 20 minutes. And I can just see John Terry picking up that trophy, backing the winning goal. Okay, Arsenal-Swansea is the Monday night offering. Arsenal another short price in the Premier League this weekend. They're 2-7 to win this game. 21 of the last 22 goals in this fixture have all come in the second half, which is staggering, really. Arsenal have lost just once in their last 34 Premier League matches. With those goals in the second half, I think Arsenal will win, but I quite like the draw half-time, Arsenal full-time at 29-10.
That's not a bad shout at all. Swansea are performing pretty well at the moment. 8th in the league under Gary Monk. They're doing magnificently well. They've had such a good season. Gary Monk has not quite turned the club around at Swansea, but they're having a real they're struggling massively under Michael Laudrup. Monk's gone in there, knows the club very well, knows it inside out. I agree with you. They're hard to break down, Swansea as well. Arsenal, for me, home bankers, but I quite see, something like a 0-0 at half-time, but then Arsenal will just overpower Swansea in the second half, go on and maybe win 1-0, 2-0, something like that. I agree with you on that one. I don't think that's a bad bet at all. Draw at half-time, then Arsenal full-time.
The Gunners have just conceded 2 goals in their last 7 Premier League games at the Emirates, but when this game's played, there's always seems to be goals. Both teams have scored in 3 of the last in the last 3 meetings, and I think Arsenal scored at least 2 in 5 of the last 6 games. I quite like both teams to score here.
There's no reason why that can't happen. The only thing for me is that Swansea don't score a massive amount of goals away from home, I don't think. And somewhere it's a tough place to go, the Emirates as well. Arsenal are very, very dominant at home. I'm not so sure about that. You've given the stats out there, but I quite fancy Arsenal to 0, to be honest.
And a double bubble, one man I quite like is Aaron Ramsey. Scored in the 3-1 win against Hull. He has had hand in 7 goals in the last 6 games for Arsenal, even in assists or first goal scored. If you're playing fantasy football this week, make sure Aaron Ramsey is in your team and probably a captain. I'm going to go both teams to score. Matt disagrees. So here's my 5-timer this weekend. I'm going to go out to Smash Out Boylesports with a nice 28-1 winner. We're going for Everton to beat Sunderland. I'm going to go for Crystal Palace Man United under 2.5 goals. QPR +2 v Man City, Chelsea v Liverpool under 2.5 goals, and Arsenal Swansea, both teams to score yes. And my banker this week is Everton to beat Sunderland. What do you like? What's your banker?
Can't disagree with that. Everton to beat Sunderland. I know the odds aren't great. I'd go Man City to beat QPR, but you wouldn't want to lump on that too much. I'm with you on Everton against Sunderland, purely for value for money.
Matt, thank you very much as always for joining us here. That's been the Bet Zone. We're both going for Everton. We're off now to hold auditions for our own Oasis tribute band.